talking to me. And he was saying, you got to understand. Thank you. Thank you. You got to understand. There are folk that want to wear your gaiters, but they don't want to put on your boot. I said, God, I said, God, what you trying to say? He said, now they see you. Now they don't. Now they see you. Now they don't. They see you in their glory, but they ain't got time for your story. They see you in your victory, but they dog you out in your pain. They see you on top of the mountain, but they don't want to walk with you through the valley. I said, God, I hear you loud and clear. He said, listen, let me explain this to you. Listen. Sit down, please sit down. Listen. Now I understand what David was saying when he said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because it ain't none of you Negroes with me. He with me. God said, let me explain this to you. God said, you remember when your mama died? He said, yeah, I remember when my mama died. Both of my parents have transitioned. He said, you remember when your mama died? You cried. He said, yeah, I cried. I cried because I was close to my mama. I love my mama. I was mama's baby. And I cried. He said, no, it wasn't because you were close to your mama. I said, what are you talking about, God? He said, you remember when your daddy died? I said, yeah, I remember when my daddy died. He said, when your daddy died, you didn't cry that much. I said, yeah, I didn't cry that much. He said, it wasn't because you loved your mama more than your daddy. He said, when your mama died, I sent you through the valley of death. I said, what are you saying? He said, because then death was real to you. I said, God, what are you saying to me? He said, the reason you cried is because you did not have a good working knowledge of the shadow of death. I said, what are you saying? He said, so I took your mama first, and then when I took your daddy, I gave you strength to handle his transition. I had preachers calling and say, how did you preach your father's eulogy? I said, because it was a shadow of death. His body is in the grave, but he's in a much better place. I'm talking to the folk in the house right now. God told me to tell you the hell you going through is just a shadow of hell. It ain't real. It ain't gonna take you out. It ain't gonna destroy you. It ain't gonna defeat you. Matter of fact, you ought to jump up on your feet. Tell your neighbor, I need about 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Because the enemy made me think it was real. But now I understand. It ain't nothing but a shadow. When you high five 3 people and say you ain't gonna be broke for long. Because at noonday when the sun rises, the S-O-N rises, the shadow will be gone